time for question of the week. Thanks for stopping by for question of the week. Question of the week. All right, everybody, welcome into a long-awaited episode of Question of the Week. We took a couple of weeks off because David decided to take a trek over to the Northwest. David, first of all, welcome back. And how was your trip?
Thank you. It was great. We did a lot of driving, but also a lot of sightseeing, hiking, taking pictures, trying to make them look cool, that kind of thing. And yeah, it was really good. It was one of those that's a little tiring, but also restful at the same time because you're just outside all the time, which is good. But we happened to run into a motorcycle rally happening in the area, so there were bikers everywhere. I'm hearing motorcycles idling in my sleep nowadays, but I'm sure that'll go away with time possibly. But yeah, I'm back and I'm ready to talk career mode theater.
I feel like that's a pretty good metaphor for being an Arsenal fan these days. It's trekking across the country only to have the trip that you thought was going to be very serene interrupted by bikers.
Yeah, but I think the parting comment on the last question of the week is it could be a very sad start to the trip or a very happy start to the trip. And 5 minutes into said event, it was looking like it was going to be a very sad start. But we turned it around and we managed to bring home a little trophy that I've shown right here in my background.
Well, many things have happened since we spoke last, and of course, one of them is that Arsenal won the FA Cup. And I think some congratulations are in order. And take me through, like you said, it did not get off to the greatest start, and it looked like City were going to be in one of those moods, but it ended quite well. I wanted to hear, especially on the road, I wanted to hear your experience of that event.
Yeah, so I was coming off of about probably 8 or 9 hours of driving through Missouri, Iowa, and a little bit of South Dakota. And then that's when the game kicked off. And so I was fighting getting signal for like it to actually come through. I had to reluctantly pay for ESPN Plus for a month, and which I've since canceled. But got the game, started watching, and heard that Pulisic put in the opener, and I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. It's Hull City all over again, where we let in 2 goals in the first 10 minutes back in 2013 or 14. Can't remember. I think it was the first one in 13, I think. But yeah, we managed to get back into the game, and Alba did Alba things, and we may have gotten away with a few things, but after the year we've had, I think I'm all right. I didn't care how it happened, just that it happened, and it would have been pretty devastating not to be in any form of European, competition next season. So qualifying for that was absolutely massive. But yeah, smiles all around. At least until the next thing goes wrong, because when good things happen, bad things are sure to follow. So, that's just the way it goes.
It was a pretty quick turnaround from we finished 8th or whatever, and everything is awful, to one trophy later, and Arteta is the prince that was promised, and everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows and dandelions from now on.
Yeah, and then the front office decided to fire 55 people, and then we basically have a team revolt on our hands from what we're reading.
We're gonna get to that.
There's just so much going on. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, that's my passenger side view of me watching the game in the middle of South Dakota.
I can imagine that going through those states in particular, having the Arsenal game on at the end of that journey. I don't want to badmouth the Midwestern states too much, but especially the rural parts of them on the way out to South Dakota, I can imagine, got a bit redundant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My friend that drove first, he kind of got the exciting part where it was 4 states in about 5 hours, and then basically we crossed into Missouri, and I started driving probably a couple hours after that, and 8 hours later we were still in Missouri.
Yeah.
And so I have the opposite of a soft spot for Missouri at this point in time, but I don't want to alienate any listeners, but I was so tired of it. And then our reward was Iowa.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We got there. Got there alive, which was kind of a victory, but because we left after work on Friday and did not stop until we got there. So that was a bit risky, but we got it done. Got it done alive, and crossed into the Badlands with an FA Cup trophy in tow. Sort of.
All of the hours and hours of just like prairie was worth it.
Yeah. Yes. It was definitely a good payoff for sure.
So speaking of good payoffs, segue. We also put 2 episodes of Career Mode Theater out in the time that you guys were in South Dakota, and then we have spent apart from each other. And just like in the real world, a lot of things were happening. A lot of things were happening in our show, starting with the January transfer window, which I know, yes, that was a big point for us. Like that was, especially with the Aubameyang money coming in from Real Madrid, we knew that was going to be a big thing for us. And I remember, like, just a little peek behind the curtain here. There are a lot of minutes and hours and probably days at this point of audio content of David and I just playing FIFA that every episode I get to filter through and determine what is in it. The transfer window itself, independent of the games that were happening around that time, is an hour long. So it was not something that we took lightly. We knew we had to get it right because we had a good opportunity to turn the squad around. And I feel like we did a pretty good job. I, of course, will, like, the Sane thing was the crown jewel of the whole process. To me, makes the Aubameyang sale that much more worth it. There were a couple of guys, Jose Heya comes to mind, that I know that we were, I know, yeah. We were definitely trying to get, and for whatever reason, didn't end up with Hudson Edward also on that list.
There will be memes.
Yeah, there will be a lot of memes. Because this is probably one of the most frustrating parts of FIFA, because this is the thing, like, you get to control the team, you get to be in charge of this club that you love, but there's actually a lot of red tape that you have to cut through to get the players that you want. But we end up with Sane. We end up with Keita Balde, which I think was a low-key pretty good signing. He was career mode just darling a couple of years ago, and his star has fizzled somewhat. One of the few guys that moved to Monaco and didn't just immediately turn into one of the best players in the world.
Imagine that.
We also picked up Mohamed Salisu, who is, of course, Arsenal target IRL. It looks like they might be going in a different direction, just with the Gabriel news that we've gotten over the last few days or so. But
did you see that Salisu is a Southampton player now?
Yeah. That change, yeah.
Yeah,
it's just such a Southampton signing.
Yeah, we just kind of skipped the whole Southampton step and went, just brought him straight to Arsenal before. Yeah. We go to the feeder club before, and then he eventually goes to Liverpool or Arsenal or somewhere like that. We just skipped that and went ahead and brought him in.
There were a few other targets that we were definitely on the trail of, but again, there were various sticking points that did not allow us to buy them, like Ben White from Brighton. I think is definitely one that we're keeping our eye on for the future. And also a lot of teams that are actually in the Premier League are looking at Ben White for like 40 million is what I heard for him this week. That Brighton won for Ben White, who has never played in the Premier League. Wild. We were not going to pay that much for him, but we ended up with a very different squad than the one that we started with. Completely overhauled the back line. Got a couple of very good midfielders, James Madison included. And then really just revamped the front three. And that plays us right into episode 6, which is the first few games that we actually get to try this new squad out. And it's, if you recall, Dave, did not go quite how we thought it was going to. Keita Balde, not Aubameyang. We get him into a few games, and I think we realized pretty quickly that playing with him was going to be a little different, just because nearly the same sort of level physical threat. He's very quick, but in terms of physical strength, ability on the turn, desire to run into channels, like it just wasn't quite there, at least in FIFA. So episode 6 holds a lot of frustration, but that sometimes is what people like. And David, if you can remember any of those games, what was your kind of emotional experience middle of and then immediately post transfer window?
I was mainly just trying to get a feel for all of these players, because it felt like I was starting in a new school or something, because I had never played with any of these players before on FIFA, really. These were all kind of new guys for me. But I was excited, and we kind of knew we're still kind of missing that clinical forward. So Balde was always kind of a value stopgap type option, but he could he's still got potential, and he could still turn into something that the FIFAs of yesteryear could only dream of. But it was just a time of transition and getting used to driving these new cars, so to speak, because Balde isn't quite the finely tuned Ferrari that Aubameyang was, but he is still pretty fast. So it's just a different kind of and just looking for new guys to step up, because I was gone, and we are looking at our goal scoring list right now, and it's quite the cast we have going on in terms of who's putting the ball in the net. But finding out those new guys that are really going to be the top goal scorers for us, and who can actually bring us home when the time comes.
Yeah. Speaking of bringing us home, episodes 7 and 8, very exciting into the season, mostly because we're kind of up against it points wise. We haven't really talked about it a whole lot up to this point, but there's definitely a thrilling conclusion.
Not great, Bob.
There are definitely still some thrills and spills left in the season. We do not have an episode coming out this Friday, unfortunately. I was out of town for this weekend and did not get to have a start on writing the episode. But next week and then the week after that, we will have episode 7, and then the final episode of season 1, episode 8. Which is crazy to think that we have come so far in such a small amount of time. But we are now up to nearly 400 views through all of our episodes, and we're in 17 different countries, David. Like that, I think probably if we take nothing else away from this, like we have a very international audience, which I think is so cool.
It's the world's game, it just brings people together.
And to think of even if it's just like one dude in his basement listening to us in Greece or the United Arab Emirates, like that's just cool. David, where can people, if they are so inclined, listen to our episodes and view all of our other suboptimal content?
So we're everywhere. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor. Just look for us, and you'll probably find us. And if you don't, you can log on to your nearest social media and find us pretty much anywhere there on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook nowadays. We also have some concurrent YouTube material for those of you who just can't get enough of career mode theater. Because we don't blame you, but we do sort of, but it is what it is. Anyways, But yeah, y'all, you can find us pretty much anywhere. So get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from everyone. Questions, thoughts, concerns, praises, uh, cries for help, anything.
Yeah, the YouTube I'm finding is more for the highs and lows of everything, the happies and crappies, because like we've had a lot of fun moments. We've also had some spectacularly silly and dumb moments from our virtual players that we all too happily documented and will be sharing with the social media universe when we feel like it.
We must. Yeah. It's the only option. And for those of you keeping track at home, when I was out of town, we pumped out 2 episodes. And when Will was out of town, we pumped out -1 episode. So that kind of tells you who gets the work done around here. So well done, sir. You're chugging right along and dragging me with you.
You know who else is putting in some work, David? Bayern Munich. Segue.
Oh man,
Champions League update.
wow. Um, they went and Germanied someone.
Yeah, like World War II Blitzkrieg Germany, like not
I
the
mean,
fun Germany we have now. Like,
yeah, I mean, I was talking about like World Cup, when they beat Brazil, but yeah, okay. I mean, if that's, anyways, go on.
so we were driving down. My wife and I celebrated our first uh, wedding anniversary this past weekend. That's what I was doing, and we were right outside of Columbia, South Carolina, on our way to Charleston, and I got the update on my phone that Bayern Munich had beaten Barcelona 8-2. And my first thought was like, oh, was this a two-leg tie? And then I realized it wasn't. And then my second thought was that's a typo, and it also wasn't. So um, again, another team that has gone from one of the presumptive best in the world to everybody's looking at Barcelona now and thinking they need a total squad rebuild. Like they've already reports coming out that pretty much everybody in their first team that isn't named Messi is on the block. They've fired their manager, fired their technical director. Koeman's in charge now, trying to get Donny van de Beek from Ajax. And it's wild how quickly these things happen, and also wild how good Bayern Munich are. And I got to see that firsthand in the Champions League group stage when my beloved Tottenham Hotspur just got ripped to shreds at home by Bayern Munich. And all of a sudden, that doesn't seem quite so guilt-ridden now. But they will play PSG, who had their own semifinal adventures, to get to the final this Sunday. Dave, what have you watched the Champions League? What have been your overall impressions up to this point?
So confession, I haven't watched any of it really. I've just been basking in the glory of this FA Cup win, because that's obviously the most important thing going on in the world. But yeah, I also saw that scoreline to the Bayern and Barca match and thought it was the aggregate score, and had to look it up and came to the same conclusions that you did. And yeah, that's not what you want, as another club who is, one of the big boys, and has been for years and years and years. I mean, Barca has been, I mean, almost untouchable, like apart from Madrid and whatnot, for so long. And we're starting to see what could be the the end of that little era, with the guys we're used to. Obviously, the Barcelona that we grew up with was that Xavi Iniesta midfield combo with Messi, David Villa, and all those guys. And it's a little bit of a different cast now, but it's still kind of the same era because Messi is still there essentially. Um, but yeah, it's crazy to see them in a spot of like they're reeling so much. It's just really weird.
Yeah, and they had, they obviously they win the World Cup in 2010. They win Euros on either side of that, and like they're Spain was putting out the best players in the world, and Barcelona had the best players on Spain.
Yep.
And like that era is now over. Barcelona, the best team in the world through all of that. And like I thought they did really well around 2013, 2014, where like they could have, like Xavi's aging and Iniesta's aging, where they can either drop off a cliff or they can find a little bit of a new identity. And they actually, like, they reloaded. They got Rakitic. They bought Suarez from Liverpool. Like I thought they did really well. Neymar was starting to come into his own, and be one of the best players in the world. And it's just, and this is 12 years that we've seen, Messi be the best player in the world and Barcelona be, one of, if not the best team on the continent. And it's weird to see them dismantled like that, but like these things happen. Like I think we're seeing the natural regression of the team back to normal, worldly limits. And like they're gonna have to restart and figure out a way to get some of that magic back. And I think it's gonna be a long and painful process, and it's sad to get to this point where, like, they're one of those teams now. And like, I don't want to cause you too much pain, David, but you saw this, like, when the Invincible era comes to an end. Like, these things happen. Like, the dominant team is not.
To a certain Barcelona, I might add.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will stop well short of saying that I feel bad for them, because like let's pump the brakes here. This is Barcelona. Like, they will be just fine, but they definitely have the danger of becoming like the I guess Inter Milan of a couple of years ago and whatnot, where it's just a fallen giant. United after Sir Alex left, that kind of thing. And all of these teams are like just now kind of recovering to the point where they're competing for things again and being back even in the same playing field as the best teams in Europe. But yeah, it's things, it comes and goes in waves. Success is a fickle is a fickle thing for sure.
Yeah. And it just, to see that, have it be, and have that just demolition be one of the biggest turning points of the Champions League is wild, in what has obviously become a pretty wild into the Champions League anyway, with all virus restrictions. But yeah, now we're with probably the two teams that have played the best in the tournament so far. PSG, you could say some things about the draw they got, but they have beaten the teams that were in front of them. And Bayern Munich have just taken on all comers and absolutely destroyed them. So we have the final, maybe not that people expected, but I think is going to be a very good and very worthy final. Now, David, I want us to get to our main talking point in this question of the week, which is mostly revolving around what the hell is going on at Arsenal. So just a quick recap. So last time we talked was July 29th, FA Cup final right around the corner. Since then, won the FA Cup, all but talking about signing a new contract, signing Willian,
Yep.
then possibly also bringing in Gabriel from Lille. And then all this stuff with Raul Sanllehi starts happening. And before that, they had the pretty controversial laying off of over 50 of their staff. So as an Arsenal fan, David, what, from the just incredible heights of FA Cup glory to where we are now, where things are at least a little more muddled, where are you at emotionally, and has your viewpoint on Arsenal's future changed at all?
Well, so I'm drawing my feelings based on my real life experiences on various roller coasters, like actual roller coasters. And that's exactly what it feels like, just kind of being jerked around every which way, ups, downs, some strange twist where, our record transfer kind of was a bit of a sham, but we're still kind of happy with the player that we got. So like, it's just weird. it's very strange. The Raul stuff came out of nowhere, really. I mean, it like obviously we paid a lot of money for Pepe, but like it like, and I think it comes down to like the fishy side of this agent-led recruitment. That stuff you're gonna read about in books later that people that were involved in write about all of the stuff that goes down. But yeah, it's just so many ups, so many downs, and we're not even like close to being done with the transfer window. So like breaking each item down. So obviously we win the FA Cup, and so obviously that means that we have an infinitely better shot of re-signing Alba, which that should be task number one. But it turns out task number one was signing Willian, which sure, whatever. I'm fine with it. Um, he played really, really well since the restart. Scored several goals. Granted, most of them were PKs, but like still, he played a pretty big role in getting Chelsea back to the CL. Um, and he's an experienced guy, knows the Premier League. He's a young 32, but I am struggling to see where he fits in. But they did talk about his versatility in terms of him being able to play pretty much anywhere in the front three, which it wouldn't hurt to have another veteran in the mix with all the young guys we have going on. But like running out of front three with uh, Alba, Pepe, and Willian is not a bad place to be with the young guys coming off the bench. So I'm excited and like I don't know how to. Yeah, I'm excited, but I'm uncertain how it's going to go. So with that, and anytime we sign a defender that has a chance to start in place of David Luiz, I am all for it. So bring on Gabriel or whoever this is. Anyone, please. We need help.
So, and speaking of David Luiz, his and agent-led recruitment. So part of the ickier tint to all of this is Sanllehi leaves. Some conflicting reports of like he was asked to leave or he left of his own accord. I think that's sort of immaterial at this point. It's uh, just more a part of a transition at Arsenal away from a hefty scouting department that goes out and finds players to sign, and now trending more towards agent-led recruitment, which is where you, I don't want to say exploit a relationship that an agent has with a particular client, but you utilize that relationship to make that signing process.
I mean, it goes both ways, in terms of stuff like that. I mean, everybody gets a little something out of it, and that's what makes it happen. So, it is strange though how we, consolidate our scouting department, and then the next thing we know, the guy who's really spearheading the agent-led recruitment scenario is now gone. So like, I mean, I'm just confused. That's where I'm at on that front. But I don't know.
And there's one, I think this is worthy of being pointed out. There's one agent in particular that's causing a lot of this ruckus. Is a guy named QOTW, is an Iranian agent that has a lot of ties in soccer, specifically in Brazil. So a lot of his clients are Brazilian. And as you will notice, a lot of Arsenal's recent signings and or prospective signings are also Brazilian and are not coincidentally also clients of QOTW. So this, I think, opens up kind of a bigger discussion because I personally, I don't really see the appeal of having your recruitment department mostly be agent led because I feel like the ceiling on something like that is significantly lower. Like I think probably the best case scenario that we've seen in the Premier League of a team using that to its utmost is probably Wolves because they have pretty heavy ties to Pedro Mendes and his ability to bring in Portuguese players, which is why you look down Wolves roster. I counted at one point and there were like 11 Portuguese players in their 18. and it's a bizarre move for Arsenal. Like I just look at it and I see the success that they've had in the past. And one of the guys that Sanllehi mentioned being let go was one of the guys that discovered. I don't want to say discovered, but like helped recruit Cesc Fabregas to Arsenal, and like it seems like an odd pivot for a team that has had a lot of success with scouting-led recruitment in the past to move away from that. And again, I don't know where that ends exactly, but it definitely seems the direction that they're heading.
Yeah. To me, as an Arsenal fan, I am, confused and very, very concerned. Just looking at the facts, because people started noticing that trend with Kia being connected to just about everything that we've done recently, including Cedric Suarez, like that signing. He's his agent as well, and David Luiz, and you look at that and you're like, man, like that's why we re-signed him, and now Raul is gone. Then like, what are we doing? And what have we done the last 6 months to a year? Like, does any of it matter at this point? Like, are we like, we have an idea of who's steering the ship at this point, but I want to know who was steering the ship this past year. And is that person still employed? But
put it all, and is not technically working for Arsenal, but still pulling a lot of the strings. So.
Yeah, and that's never a good thing to discover. So very nervous about that, but I'm ready for us to get our business done in the transfer window, offload some dead weight, and let this man do his thing, and both of them if possible. And start playing again. So that's what I'm ready for.
I can't stop looking at Arteta. Like, it's just so handsome.
Yeah. I mean, he's no fake Mikel, but
this is definitely a worthy rabbit hole to go down. Like, we got so many laughs out of just experiencing fake Mikel, or Mekel, as I like to call him, in all of his glory. Because I mean, it's sort of like if the only version of Mikel Arteta you ever saw was like a grainy JPEG on somebody's phone. Like, it's just not the same. Like, God forbid I ever actually see him in person, because I don't think it would probably take some getting used to, I would think. But fake Mikel, no matter how much we didn't spend that much time on him, but like we could have spent hours trying to construct Mikel Arteta from pixels, and it wouldn't have done him any justice. And
yeah, the fake Mikel ended up a product of, we just wanted to start playing, and so we're like, let's just make someone that vaguely looks like him with like similar features, but has I don't know, 10 degrees of handsome less in his possession. And we just went with it, and he is now a character in the story, and that's why we love him.
He looked like a Mikel Arteta impersonator that you would like hire to come to your kid's birthday party.
It's like the Elvis
yes.
impersonators. Yeah, like you can definitely tell like immediately that it's not him, but if it goes on long enough, you kind of start questioning it. No. Yeah, just a fun little wrinkle, and the absence of life in all of the eyes of anything in FIFA just really puts the icing on the cake for me.
I can just feel fake Mikel just staring straight through me, terrifying anytime he comes on the screen. No, Mikel, you'll scare the children.
And now they have the press conferences, so it just makes it so much better. Like, that's if nothing else, those press conferences, like even if they get kind of pointless after a while, we're still going to laugh at them because we have fake Mikel.
Yeah.
So the possibilities are endless. Sometimes Fake Mikkel is ruthless, and he's always all about the lads though. That's
All about the lads. The lads come first with Fake Mikkel.
yes, all the time.
Well, there will be plenty more of Fake Mikkel in the final 2 episodes of season 1 of Career Mode Theater. I will go ahead and say that we are planning on having a season 2 once those episodes end. There are some logistics to be worked out.
Unless we get canned.
Yeah.
But anyways, don't mind that.
Yeah. TBD if we actually still have the job at the end of the season, but it's so much closer than I could have ever imagined at the beginning of this. But yeah, if you don't know this already, David still lives in Alabama and I don't. So figuring out a way to get us in the same room to be able to record is going to be a logistical hurdle that we have to hop over together. But we are, as of now, planning on bringing you another season of Career Mode Theater, whether you like it or not. David, this has been wonderful. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad that you're back in the Central Time Zone. Congratulations again on Arsenal's FA Cup. And we only have like a month until the Premier League starts back up.
It's a quick turnaround. So things will be different. It's going to be interesting seeing how the short turnaround affects everyone and how they were playing before. So
I'm not particularly upset that Manchester United and Man City both had extended runs into their respective competitions.
Yes, tire them out.
All right, buddy. Well, again, great talking with you. New episode of Career Mode Theater comes out on next Friday, not Friday, 2 days from now. And thank you so much for listening, and we will see you guys again soon. Goodbye.